Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's your local creature retriever, Konu D. I used to be a three-legged crow. Right now, I'm an eldritch creature. Hi, hi. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. How y'all? How y'all doing? Wah, wah, wah. Mr. Eldritch Konu. Yeah. Immy, 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 immy. And we're back with the Doll Witch. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure things out. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I have been knocked out for like nearly the entire day because I was doing thesis writing. Smiles. So yeah. Oh well. Friend dragged you to the zoo today. Stared at raccoons for like 15 minutes. Heck yeah. That's good. Raccoons are good. Smiles. But yeah. So we are yet again doing, reading the Doll Witch. Hello! We are back in book club hours. Yay. Yippee. We're reading the Doll Witch, because Barton fucked up the schedule. Barton! What was supposed to be every Friday had to be delayed a bit, so now we're reading, like, a lot of chapters. We're reading 4 to, 6.5. By 6.5, the intermission. Thank you for the 30 stream streak, Noah. Thank you. So yeah. So we're gonna be reading quite a bit, actually. Yippee yahoo. I certainly have no complaints about that. I've been keeping up with it, like, you haven't missed a stream since my birthday? Oh, good. Yeah, I think what's the term? I think I've been keeping up with it, like, off stream? Not really focusing on it, but like I've been keeping up with the uploads. But yeah. What are the words? What am I looking for? What am I finding out? What am I understanding? What am I But yeah, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and then intermission 1. Intermission 1 is gonna be really short because it's an intermission, basically. I think the excuse Botan gave was that Botan was gonna be busy, so she might not be able to have time to upload. Oh, right, because it's Anime NYC. She's attending Anime NYC, so that's why there's an intermission. But other than that, we did, we did chapters 1 to 3 last time. We did chapter 4. We're going to do chapter 4 to 6.5 this time. Sorry, I'm so out of it. I'm really out of it. Thesis writing takes everything out of me. I'm so sorry. But what am I looking for? What the word? What English? Work with me. It's book club day. I have one job. But yeah, I have pinned to chat the links to the Doll Witch. You can read it on Royal Road, and you can listen to the audiobook, the playlist, which uploads usually around the same time that the actual book uploads. Anything else? Alright, okay. So we'll do this the same way we did it last time. We're gonna read through a chapter. Well, we're gonna listen to the chapter. We're gonna listen and read to the chapter. Then we're gonna ask the questions, TM, the context questions or whatever they're called after, and then we're gonna summarize, discuss, and then ask the context questions, and then ask future questions that might be necessary to answer. So yeah, you only read up to chapter 4. Yeah, chapter 4 has the character I was predicting that was gonna show up. It's King Freak! Well, no. Yeah, well, King Freak so far. Somebody might depose him. So, let's party. Which screen am I gonna use for this one? Let's use this screen. Oh, perfect. All right, it's all there. All right, great, good. Fantastic, wonderful. I noticed last time we streamed, like we streamed book club day like this. It doesn't really matter if I like follow along. Like it's gonna be because of the white background. It's gonna be. I don't know. I find it difficult to read because it's white on black, and then like it might be smaller for y'all. But I don't know. But I'm rambling. All right, let's get this party started.
Chapter.
This is the freakiest character from the background. The freakiest one yet. Listen, I don't know. I don't dare to assume, you know? Alright.
Chapter 4. The Doll Witch. Alouette woke up in her bed with a start. Another sunny, peaceful day. Birds outside the window chirped, and dolls popped their heads in by the door frame to pipe good morning. Stepping into the hallway, Alouette peered down the staircase that led to the workshop. Her vision blurred, the path warping deeper and narrower than it was. She rubbed her eyes and ran to splash water on her face in front of the bathroom mirror. Surely last night was a dream, even if some danger did lurk. She was the Doll Witch, and this was her territory. Besides, everything in the workshop stayed the way she had left it, down to the smallest tools and stray scraps of leather. Just her imagination. If she were to check the cabinet, it would be sealed, like always. She looked up. There was no lock. Since when? The cabinet had no chains, bolts, or keyholes from the very beginning. Facing the girl were two great doors, their handles and whatever waited inside. Dry swallowing, Alouette broke out into a cold sweat. How had she never noticed? Why did she think it was locked this entire time? She tried to remember every time she had interacted with the cabinet, but only recalled memories of it being locked. There had to be a reason why she thought so. Was it how she tried to open it? It was always with the doll hand. Without making sudden movements, the girl's trembling eyes scrolled down to her left hand. She always subconsciously reached over with it to rustle the doors. She'd assumed, no, her mind told her that the cabinet was locked when the doll hand refused to open it. She wasn't the one in control. Stop. This was ridiculous. All she had to do was try to open the cabinet with her right hand. If it still didn't budge, it could always be jammed or have a special mechanism, like the rest of the workshop. But if it did open, what would happen next? What would be in there? Would everything she's known for the past year come falling apart? How much did she actually know? Her pale fingers twitched, but not into action. She couldn't do it. Alouette kept her head down and worked on the boots. The dolls who gathered to help asked how she was doing. She smiled and ate the breakfast they brought, despite feeling sick. She forced a laugh when Poppy rolled around and tangled herself in string. To the very best of her ability, she acted normal. The girl was terrified that something would notice her doubts. Making some excuse, Alouette asked the dolls if they could expedite the shoemaking process. She wanted them done by tonight. The dolls tilted their heads and complained, as yesterday she had asked them to teach her slowly and steadily. Discarding their annoyance without a second thought, the dolls agreed to her request. "Well, you do always change your mind," they giggled, getting to work. Turning around to hammer nails into a soul, Alouette grimaced. The dolls often alluded to her past self, but when she asked them to elaborate, they'd brush it off or forget what the conversation was about. Before she didn't think much of it, the dolls were innocent. Airheads. But were they? Alouette clenched the hammer in her hand. These were the dolls that did everything in their power to care for her. If she had a request that they couldn't fulfill, they would shrink and mope, apologizing while finding alternatives. On feverish nights, they waited on her and celebrated when she recovered. They read with her, played with her, and hugged her with their thumb-sized arms whenever she felt lonely. But even so, past the unconditional love, tap. Past their childlike innocence, tap. Past having a peaceful life that others would kill for, tap. Something just wasn't right. Crunch. Alouette cried out when she hammered her fingernail. It wasn't bad at all, just a trickle of blood. The doll hand held back at the last second. Relief washed over her from seeing the bruise swell. She was still human. Every doll looked over and gasped. Dropping everything, they ran around in a panic to provide first aid. 2 fought over the medical kit, as 2 others considered melting down the hammer for its crimes. Perry ordered everyone to calm down, while Poppy hugged Alouette's hand and sobbed for her not to die. They were so sweet. Guilt festered alongside the doubt. By evening, they finished the leather boots thanks to witchcraft. It would have been impossible without the dolls, who finished 1 shoe and used it as a model for Alouette to learn from. Most of the time was spent showing her the ropes and fixing her mistakes. Finishing the leather with wax and polish, Alouette's face lit up when the dolls checked her work and chimed, "All done." The result was a pair of shiny, almost perfect shoes. Alouette's having a few quirks. The dolls clamored for her to try them on. "They're not for me." Half of the dolls gasped. "How big do you think my feet are?" she grumbled, as they pulled a boot onto her anyway. Poppy fell into the other shoe when lifting it alone, thinking everyone else was going to move that one. Cracking a smile, Alouette hopped over to fish her out as she sniffled from the dark, scary depths of the heel. "Thanks, everyone. Especially you, Perry." He had done the instructing. Even though the other dolls knew the method, they were the worst teachers in all of Domina. Perry bowed before looking up at her with those unchanging button eyes. "It was nothing. With practice, we might be able to accompany you outside the territory soon." "We can go to town," Patty hurrahed. "Oh boy, it's been forever," cheered Penny. "Are we going tomorrow?" asked Peggy. "No, dummy, even if we went, we'd just fall asleep," Polly reminded them. Poppy had no contribution to the conversation, somehow already dozing in a drawer. Alouette picked her up to carry her to the living room. She glanced at the cabinet before closing the door to the workshop and ascending the shadowy steps. The dolls clung to Alouette like 6 silly monkeys. Even Perry perched on her shoulder, occasionally catching one of his siblings before they tumbled off. Alouette wished them sweet dreams as she tucked them, including Perry, into their little basket bed. He accepted this without protest, patting Poppy on the head as she snuggled closer. Alouette would sleep in her outside clothes. She made an excuse about wanting to be ready first thing in the morning. Her bag was packed with the boots, right next to her shoes in the doorway. She was prepared to run. After the usual ritual of tossing and turning, she stared straight at the doorway's wall and pretended to sleep. Her right human hand pinched her cheek every minute to keep herself awake. Even when her body ached or itched, she stayed frozen. She made sure not to move the doll limbs. Some time past midnight, a shifting rustled in the darkness. The muted hum of wires rubbing against fabric split the silence of the night, lifting Alouette at the joints like a puppet. Making herself go limp, she shut her eyes. What if it could see in the dark and tell that she was awake? Step by step, the strings pulled her in the familiar direction of the workshop. The girl's heart sank into her stomach as she descended the staircase into the pitch-black underground. She heard the workshop door open on its own, but not close. The strings let go of Alouette after seating her in the work desk's chair. There was no light or sound for a minute. Hollow were the halls that always rang with the dolls' cheerful voices. Alouette tried to ignore her pounding heart and the growing ringing in her ears, but interrupted by a creaking noise. The cabinet doors in front of her folded open without resistance. Something heavy dragged itself out, lightly scraping against the desk. Soon that sound stopped, even though the squeaking of the presence's joints continued. Strings suspended whatever was in front of her. The previous night, she went unconscious and woke up in her bed upon peering into the darkness. Would that happen again if she opened her eyes? She had thoughts to find the truth behind what was happening, but had no idea after that. What was happening? Something cool and solid gingerly touched the swollen cheek that she had been pinching all night. They were fingers made of polished wood. She knew the texture all too well. Whatever came from the cabinet moved closer and closer. She could smell the scent of wood and feel her breath bouncing off of it. The presence pulled away. Click, clack, scrape, squeak. Next came the sounds of something being worked on, something being assembled. Alouette remained propped up in the chair, motionless except for her doll arm. She couldn't feel what the hand was doing and didn't dare to open her eyes. All she knew was that it was moving. The ball joint rotated independently against the skin of her shoulder. Who was making what, and why was it a secret? Since when? Did the dolls know about this? What was she supposed to do now? Her breath hitched as her dread spiked. All the scraping and clanking sounds stopped. The presence clattered closer. It was peering at her face again. She couldn't take it anymore. Eyes still shut, she shoved whatever was in front of her and ran out of the workshop. A racket of wood and metal clashed through the house. In the living room, the 6 rag dolls were still sleeping, unaware. She hoped, at least. Against her better judgment, she tucked their basket under her arm as she rushed to escape. Jumping into her shoes as she twisted the doorknob, Alouette sprinted into the woods without looking back. The doll hand was hers again, but trusting it was another thing. The treetops obscured the starlight, making the forest difficult to navigate. Alouette didn't care which direction she ran in. She just wanted to get as much distance between her and the house as possible. It didn't seem like anything was chasing her. After a minute, she heard a voice call to her from the basket. "Alouette? Alouette? Are you okay?" Poppy peeped. The other 5 dolls stayed asleep. Alouette stopped running. She set the basket on the ground and collapsed on her hands and knees, catching her breath. The adrenaline had subsided. She was shaking now. Poppy pitter-pattered to the edge of the basket to her side. "What's wrong? How come we're here?" What's in the workshop cabinet?" Alouette panted, trying to keep calm. She squeezed the handles of the basket hard enough for the wicker to creak. Poppy raised a hand to her smiling stitches. "Huh? What are you hiding from me? Why haven't I noticed things? It seems so obvious now." One of the reeds splintered and Poppy squeaked. "How did we meet? Who am I? Why won't any of you tell me anything?" It was her first memory of ever becoming so angry. After the echo of her shout shook the forest, silence fell. Poppy began to cry. It wasn't the childish wailing that the dolls made when stumbling or having their toys taken away, no. Little Poppy whimpered as if hurt by Alouette's words. She held back fearful sobs to not further enrage her. I don't know. I'm sorry, Alouette. Don't be mad. Please don't be mad," Poppy hiccuped, cowering like a real child. "Please don't break our bed. It's everyone's favorite." Guilt panged. It won over the exasperation in Alouette's heart. She had done something regretful, even if Poppy was putting on an act. Picking up the frightened doll with both hands, she whispered apologies and began to cry a bit herself. Poppy wiped Alouette's wet cheeks with a soft paw. A few teardrops were enough to drench the fabric, but the rag doll didn't seem to mind. Poppy forgot her worries and continued to pat her until she calmed down. And once Alouette did, she placed Poppy back into the basket with the others. She then stood, said goodbye, and walked away. Still confused and worried, Poppy tried to chase after her on foot. She managed a few steps before falling flat on her face. One button eye dangled loose as she whined. Looking over her shoulder, Alouette sighed and returned to scoop the doll back into the basket. Poppy settled down sleepily and said nothing more as Alouette walked them back to the house. Sentry dolls pointed the way back home. They hadn't appeared during the dash to escape. The front door was wide open. At first glance, it appeared as if no one else was there. But even stopping a good distance away from the house, she could tell something stood in the doorway. From the vague shadows, all Alouette could see was the fractured figure of a torso, right arm, and head, standing as tall as an adult. Red wires glinting in the scant starlight suspended its body. Fear washed over her again. She alerted Poppy and the other dolls, but no response came. All of them slumped over like the piles of fabric they were. You would question if they were ever alive at all. A male voice echoed from the doorway. Its deep tone rattled like broken, gnashing gears. "The dolls haven't done anything wrong. I hope you can forgive them. They have only been doing what they know. Poppy and the others love you." Its words were reasonable and kind, yet the tone was superficial, transactional even. Alouette didn't take her eye off the silhouette as she set the basket on the grass. It hadn't budged. The figure took no breath. As if reading her mind, it added, "I don't enjoy keeping secrets from you, my dear. However, you're unstable this time." Alouette flinched from the intimate address. "What do you mean this time?" For her own good, the figure did not answer. Her head hung in defeat. The situation was more complicated than she knew. but she needed to confirm one thing. "Are you the one who made me like this?" she whispered, hovering a hand over her damaged eye. "Absolutely not." The first bit of emotion, an almost venomous indignation, as if the very notion of hurting Alouette was ridiculous. It took her aback. "Why were you hiding in the cabinet?" "I didn't want you to see me in this unsightly form, and—" it answered before falling silent, lost in thought. "3 years ago, you said you hated me, that you never wanted to see me again. Why?" "I don't know. Forgive me for showing myself now." This was the truth, for witches cannot lie, and tragically, this one could not understand the hearts of man. "Did you kidnap me?" Silence, as much as it wanted to give a considerate, human response. This was impossible. Technically, yes, people would likely view it that way. Alouette froze, hardly processing the implications. She hadn't expected to be right or receive such an honest answer. Unfortunately, this was the most that the witch was willing to say. "My dear, my sweet Alouette," the figure cooed. She winced and took a step back. "If you learn the truth, you will die." Her blood chilled. This was not a threat, but a concerned warning. Somewhere in her soul, she knew this. The witch had already told her everything it could. For her own safety. "Please come home. We will do everything in our power to provide you with a happy life. I cannot give you answers, but anything else in the world will be yours if you so desire." "Anything," the witch promised, taking a heavy, rattling step forward in the darkness. "Be it a trip to the city or your very own city, to the heads of those you find disagreeable, your wish is my command." "I used to demand those things." "I shall either grant it or die doing so." From the shadows, the figure held out its right arm, offering its hand. Dim light cast upon the limb, tinged scarlet by the wire's reflection. Even at a distance, she could tell. The hand was the same size and material as her own. Alouette ran, even though nothing chased her. The figure hadn't ordered her to stop or wait. Puppy hadn't woken up and pleaded with her. The sentries in the forest didn't get in her way. Running away from the house, the basket of dolls, and everything that had supported her thus far, the lone girl obtained her hollow freedom. They allowed her to. It was a thought stemming from the back of her head for some time. Again and again, she had shelved the doubt, but now the truth rose to the forefront of her mind and out of her lips. "I'm not the real doll witch," she rasped. As if invisible strings snapped, Alouette's doll parts fell immobile in the midst of her stride. She tumbled into the grass, her prosthetic legs skidding away. Breathless, Alouette balanced herself on her knees and gripped her left shoulder. The arm remained attached, but the fingers were unresponsive. At first, she attempted to pull the doll hand out of its socket. It wouldn't budge. The wooden appendage that had seemed so fragile and precious now clamped her skin like a steel shackle. Overcome with frustration, she unbuttoned her blouse, shed her left sleeve, and tore at the ball joint in her shoulder. It refused to leave her. She hadn't realized the ground beneath her was the lip of a chasm. In her thrashing, she tipped over the edge and would have fallen if not for him. Red wires sprung from the doll hand's joints, hooking around a tree and pulling her to safety. Once she was on secure land, the strings disappeared, snapping into transient sparks of light. Everything had always been to save her. She stared at the hand, conflicted and baffled by its apparent loyalty. Despite her amnesia, that thing, the real doll witch, respected her past self's desire to never see it again. So, he hid all this time, prepared to never see the sun again until receiving her forgiveness. Except, how would she even know if he never showed himself? Why was he so devoted and obsessed with her? The girl could not understand the heart of that witch.
Okay. Freak. First off. First off, what a okay. Okay, hold on. So we immediately jump to the horror part, which is great, I love it. Finally, we saw him. We saw him, TM. The guy in the cabinet. Oh my god, yippee yahoo. I love the image of like, or well, it's not really an image, is it? It's like a vague image of what he looks like, of what the doll witch looks like now, and it's literally like it's a disconnected torso, right arm, and a head, and then it's just strings like holding him up. That's really good. That's really good. What a fantastic mental image. Of course, I'm not gonna ignore the elephant in the room. Alouette is not the doll witch. Which, that's, So now I'm wondering, right? So does that mean that they can? We're already in the question and answer part, I guess. Well, not question and answer, but we're in the questioning part, I guess. Haven't even summarized the thing. But this whole revelation part, that then makes me wonder, so dominion marks can be faked? Question mark? Because it does seem like everybody else is recognizing Alouette as a witch, right? And then they're saying like, oh, she's got the dominion mark, so she's the doll witch. But then like, she's not. So she, like, it's a real mark. It's his hand stuck on her. Oh. Oh. So that's why. So that's why they have similar hair. Oh. Oh. Okay. Okay. Understood. Okay. The math is mathing. Alright. Let me see here. This bit is also like fucking, I don't enjoy keeping secrets from you, however you're unstable this time. What do you mean this time? Fucking, of the first bit of emotion and almost venomous indignation, as if the very notion of her. Okay, freak. What a freak. This one is also fun. This was a truth where witches cannot lie. That's very good. That's an interesting thing to keep note of. Yay, yippee. And like, but this entire line is also really good. This was a truth for witches cannot lie, and tragically this one could not understand the hearts of man. I don't know. It hits different. It hit different. I really like it. Right, so elephant in the room addressed. Alouette is not the doll witch. Oh, I'm stupid. It says right here, the hand was the same size and material as her own. Wait! So that means Dominion... Well, no, it's not really her hand, is it? But, like, Dominion marks can recognize two witches? Wait, hold on. No, we haven't seen Doll Witch do his actual powers, TM. We haven't seen him do much aside from just helping out Alouette. So I guess I can't really say that, oh, they both have the powers of the Doll Witch, because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen what his actual powers are. Okay, never mind. So what are his powers? There we go, that's the question. What? All the dolls went dormant when the real... True! All of them just went silent. That's true. Yeah. Alerted Poppy and the other dolls, but no response came. All of them slumped over like the piles of fabric they were. You would question if they were ever alive at all. Ooh. So he well, okay. That makes sense. He controls the entire dollhouse, TM. Like, that's his thing. Okay. A freak. But, sorry. Freak number 1. King Freak so far. So there's a high chance that what's her face? That Alouette doesn't have a dominion at all. And like she's just borrowing the powers of the Doll Witch. Okay. That's fascinating. Why would they have to do that? That's so... Huh. Wait, okay. So, recap, right? Alouette got caught in the crossfire of the Witch War, right? Yeah, the Witch War, or whatever it's called. Like, she got caught in the crossfire and that's why she got all injured and everything, and she was at the border when she got injured. It's been, what, 2 years? I believe? 2 years since then. And it's been 2 years since then. What was she? Who was she before the memory loss? What? Because this is a lot of hinting at what she used to be, right? Well, you do always change your mind, and then like the fucking the Doll Witch being yandere obsessed with her. Like, what? Who are you? That 3 years ago you said you hated me, that you never wanted to see me again. So that's before the Witch War. No, sorry. That was during the Witch War? Because it ended 2 years ago. So a year before that, the Witch War was still ongoing. Okay, never mind. You said you hated me, that you never wanted to see me again. Okay, so they were... Hold on. I'm so bad at this. Sorry. So, it's Alouette and then Doll Witch. They were staying together. Well, kidnap. Technically, yes. People would likely view it that way. So... Okay, sorry. I'm like thinking of, again, we found out that this character existed through the countdown images, right? And in one of the countdown images, it did look like Alouette and the Doll Witch were happy once upon a time. I don't know if that's just like because it's fan art or what, right? But it did look like they were happy once. So it's like, and it's technically, yes, people would likely view it that way. So there's a gap for some level of consent there, is all I'm saying. So either way, one way or another, Alouette and the Doll Witch were living together in this dollhouse. And clearly the Doll Witch loved this girl a lot. Like, a lot. Obsessed with her a lot. And what did he say? We will do everything in our power to provide you with a happy life. Cannot give you answers, but anything else in the world will be yours if you desire anything. Be it a trip to the city or your very own city, to the heads of those you find disagreeable, your wish is my command. Heckin', he was in love with this girl. God damn! And then the terrifying implications that Alouette, at least in the past, used to ask for that. So like, Girl, who were you back in the day? Alouette! Yo! What kind of demon time nonsense are you? Wait, hold on. So, hold on. No, yeah, literally the chapter before this, the suit of armor. The suit of armor that that's, huh? Wait, hold on. I'm trying to figure something out, sorry. Okay, so, my dear Alouette, my sweet Alouette, if you learn the truth, you will die. And it's not a threat, a concerned warning. The witch had already told her everything it could for her own safety. And then the chapter before this, she... Well, is it her powers, though? Is it really her that brought back the suit of armor? Is it not? It's something else. It's gotta be. Because if she's not the doll witch, it doesn't make sense that she was able to, like, reanimate the suit of armor. Okay, I guess this is the question. Does Alouette have a dominion at all? Because that's the question, isn't it? If the dominion mark that she's using right now is borrowed from the doll witch, and she's a witch of some kind, question mark, does that mean, like, she's just a nobody witch? Like, it's sort of like, right, so we talked in the first chapter, they were talking about, like, oh, there are witches with no names, they're just witches. And then, they don't have a dominion, right? So is Alouette just Alouette? You know, like, is she anything special? But if that's the case... Huh? Maybe I'm being too critical here. Specifically of Alouette. Like, if she was just some, like, nobody, right? If she was just some, like, no power nobody, does that mean the reasons that she fell, like, the reason that... How do I word this? Like, the reason that the doll witch is so, like, the reason he fell in love with her is because, like, he knew her before he became the doll witch or something like that? Is that why? Is that why the dolls say that we saw you grow up, but we can't, like, we weren't there? That sort of thing? Cause it's like, technically, technically, they did see her grow up, but they can't really say anything because they didn't have consciousness then yet. Answers in the next chapter? Oh boy. Oh boy. Finding out this exists. Alouette. No, the reason I know the word Alouette is because of that one Tom and Jerry bit where there's that great mouse, like, singing this little French song, and he just says Alouette over and over. And then, like, Tom the cat is, like, staring at him, watching him, like, slice this, like, ham, I think. He was yoinking some ham. And then the little mouse is singing that song, and I'm like, ah, I recognize that word. Okay. This is so... This is, like, yandere behavior. This is genuinely... I have never seen this kind of behavior in anything else other than yanderes. The whole, like, oh, 3 years ago you said you didn't want to see me again, so I'm gonna hide away. I'm gonna stay in a fucking cabinet for however long until you forgive me. Like, what? Freak behavior. Freak behavior! Deadass! Christ! Chapter VA say VA. Thank you for voicing the freak, TM. God damn. Thank you for voicing this absolute maniac of a man. God. Alright. Cool. Next chapter. Next chapter, Euclid. Oh! Euclid is somebody that a lot of people in bot and server have been looking forward to, so this is gonna be very funny. Alright. Ayo. Oh my gosh, little TVs. Oh, G-chan! Sorry. I love that guy in specific.
Mustering up the courage to ask.
Oh, whoopsie.
Chapter 5. Euclid. Their love was real, but the circumstances were fabricated. It would be insane to stay after knowing the dolls had kidnapped her. Alouette sat in the dark, dense forest, clutching her knee for comfort. Was it insane? They gave her security and anything she wanted. All she needed to do was be their little doll. What were her other options? Alouette had little besides the few supplies in her bag. No, you still have the map and boots. Crawling, she retrieved her shell of a leg, but it wouldn't stick anymore. It wasn't broken. Her identity as the doll witch was. Alouette tied it to her knee with bandages and a wobbly fitting. As she felt around for something to use as a cane, emerald glimmered in the brush. It called for her. Or she was going delusional. All she found was a tall branch twisted like a braid. Using it to stand with a shaky start, she limped her way forward. The sky and sole source of light captivated her sight. Past the treetops, there was one astral body that always shone through, piercing both the void of night and the rays of day. The boreal star of guidance. Alouette didn't know if it was something she had learned, instinct, or desperation, but she walked using the star as her guide. She thought Boreal looked lonely without auroras surrounding it. Why would she ever think so? Auroras were visible exclusively from the isolated, freezing banks of the Winter Province. Surely she had never been there. It was a land from which people seldom entered or exited. Once nearing the valley, a verdant flash caught her eye once again, this time much closer. Emerald granules peppered in the gaps of the cane's braided wood glowed with life. In her hands was a witch's staff. When she took another step, the staff blinked like a lighthouse, flashing until Alouette changed her direction. Confused and curious, she turned back around and stepped in 8 directions until the staff was satisfied enough to shine again. Following its path led her to an innocuous patch of grass. Again, the same presence as the valley and cabinet. Coming closer, she saw that the patch grew lusher than anything else in the area. It's the size of a body. The staff shone brighter than ever. This had to be the spot it was trying to guide her to. Alouette glanced back and forth at it and the patch. Finally, she decided to lay the staff flat on the grass, smiling and wiping her forehead for having done a good deed. Or not. As she hobbled away, the emerald light swelled in annoyance and beckoned her back. It dyed the entire area. No forest had ever looked that green before. In your world, it would be like a crosswalk light beckoning you over while also threatening to kill you. Okay, I don't understand, but I'm here. Alouette squeaked, shielding her eye. She never thought she'd want 2 eye patches. In her blindness, she stumbled onto the grass. The light died down and blinked in condolences as she complained. Another whisper from the subconscious interrupted and quieted her. Someone died here. With the realization, Alouette slowly lifted and inserted the staff into the grounds like a grave marker, and the light disappeared. Had she done something wrong? She fretted until something light like a feather brushed her shoulder. Sidestepping into view was the apparition of a young man smiling and waving hello. His other hand covered a bloody slit severing his throat. The injury and muted colors of his transparent form contrasted with the health and friendliness of his face. Black shoulder-length hair framed his boyish face, with one lock tucked behind his ear. On that side was a beauty mark under his eye and a star-shaped earring that matched his olive irises. His clothes were practical. A white dress shirt with a leather shoulder harness, black pants fitted with various pouches at the belt, and combat boots. One could mistake the unornate attire for human, except on his arm was a brass-colored band that signified which medical personnel. He cast no shadow. In its place were fractals of light bouncing in bright blues, purples, and yellows. Holding back a yelp, Alouette plastered both hands over her mouth, as if astonishment were something you could grapple down. The man's face shifted between surprise, concern, and delight. He patted her head, phasing through as a light breeze, and chuckled soundlessly as she gathered her wits. Flustered, Alouette stumbled from her knees onto her behind, to which the man tilted his head in polite concern. Is this your staff? Did you die here?" Alouette shied away from the grass, but the man waved a dismissive hand. To her question, he nodded and bowed with princely grace, crossing his ankles and tucking his free hand behind his back.
Wait, sorry. I just wanted to say something before we continued. He hasn't even done anything, but I don't trust this guy. He hasn't even done anything yet. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with you? I'm sorry, the voice actor. I'm sure I'm sure he's very nice. But like the voice is like pissing me off low-key. I'm like, this is the guy that a lot of people in the server waited for? Okay. I'm sorry. I know as well that a lot of them were like, especially that one particular person in the server is like, oh, I want him to sound mean. I want him to sound like he'll step on me, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I'm also like, I'm listening to it and I'm like, I want to bond him. I want to kick him to non-existence. That's what I want to do. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. Euclid breathes Konu distrust.
Silent introductions were over. He knelt and waved a hand over her shoulder and knee. Green light traced his fingertips and sparkled at the dull joints. A light, pleasant jolt coursed through her as the artificial limbs reconnected with her nerves. She had mixed feelings about relying on them, but couldn't deny the necessity. "Wow, thank you," she said, unraveling the knee's bandages in amazement. Witches always repaid their debts. Still covering the glaring wound in his neck, the man smiled to say she was welcome. The binding concept of his injury made it impossible for him to speak, even in death. It reminded Alouette of all the time she had spent in the mirror. "It doesn't bother me." She lowered his hand by the wrist and steeled herself to not wince at the bloody opening. Nervously determined, she wrapped her bandages around his neck, tying the knot into a one-sided bow. As if fresh, or melding with her offering, bright red blood stained his throat. He blinked in surprise. She had been able to make contact with him. More importantly, she'd given him something that was hers. a gesture that witches do not take lightly. Sorry, they're used, but... He opened his mouth slightly and looked down at the bandages, brushing his fingers against them. I'm surprised that worked, he said in a handsome voice that matched his face. The two stared at each other in silence until an uncomfortable, confused sound gurgled from the back of Alouette's throat. He turned away to laugh, so she, who was also too caught up being embarrassed at herself, didn't catch the edges of his lips curling into a mischievous grin. Turning back with the face of a gentleman, he offered a hand. Thank you, miss. I've wanted to reunite with my staff all this time. Careful now. On cue, Alouette bumbled and would have toppled over the grave marker if this ghost hadn't pulled her upright. With regal poise, he balanced and brushed her off. He didn't seem to mind her clumsiness, instead, laughing with a newfound voice as she stammered more apologies. This staff was enchanted to reunite with my sight of death, but I was killed by an anti-witch mine. Normally, it'd be impossible for me to even think of losing in the forest, but human scouts poisoned this area. Anti-witch mines. The name rang a grim bell. Those unprecedented weapons created by the Peace Witch drained magical energy. Thinking back, Alouette did see the remains of white, harpoon-like weapons in the valley.
Wait. What do you mean the Peace Witch made the anti-witch mines? What kind of peacekeeping operation were you doing, girl? American? What? Witches never lie. Witches always repay their debts. Anti-witch mines were made by the Peace Witch? What? I'm calm. I'm chill. Let's keep going. What the f-
Some were strewn about. Others planted deep into the ground. You saw how it ended badly for both of us, right? I'm ashamed to say, I underestimated humans and failed as the squadron leader. Alouette peeked at his brass armband. But aren't you a medic? Unoffended, he let her take a closer look. Embroidered in black thread was an insignia bearing the dominion mark of Catharsis I. Witches were typically too absorbed in their own world to care about human societal norms like uniforms, hierarchy, and even governments. 2,000 years ago, during the Intra-Domina War, Catharsis I began a tradition of medically inclined witches wearing the band. Those who chose to don it swore to save lives equally. In turn, the rest of witch kind would never harm these healers. It was a logical, symbiotic relationship, so witches adopted the custom without fuss. Even humans respected Catharsis' armband. But the witch hunt war's purpose was wholly genocide. Being a medic isn't mutually exclusive to having authority. We witches don't fret over such trifling matters, miss. Our kind can tell who the most capable one in the room is. But I suppose it doesn't come as naturally for you. I'm not a witch. Are you sure? He gestured at the red thread-like mark around her doll hand. Expect to be treated like one. You may have circumstances, but I'm saying this for your sake. Apparently, he had been able to see her whenever she crossed paths with the staff. It was always from a distance, but he had watched over her recovery. Having fatefully been in the immediate area of her breakdown earlier, he surmised the events of that night. Relief washed over Alouette. This witch seemed normal and sympathetic. Out of habit, she asked for his name, only to excuse herself. The man chuckled and scooped up her human hand. As insurance, I put my soul into the staff. You don't know how much it means for me to reunite with it after all these years. I'm a humble, dominionless witch, but allow me to tell you my true name. This is for you, and only you, to know. One cannot weaponize a witch's name after they've passed. but it was personal and precious all the same. Perhaps this witch had taken a shine to our Alouette, or was telling her on a whim. Even he did not know, so all we can do is speculate. In her palm, he traced the letters E-U-C-L-I-D. Her face lit up. "Euclid? I'm Alouette," she blabbed in record time. They stood in silence as Euclid's serene smile twisted into a tight squiggle. Realizing that this was a mistake, he slapped a hand over his face to iron out his exasperation. Alouette sobbed. When she mentioned heading for Callum, Euclid pointed in the direction of the flower field. "If you go back to the suit of armor, I'm sure he'll help you. From the staff, I saw when he carried you home. I can't say I knew him, but that guy is a good person, and my impressions are never wrong." "You didn't expect me to let your name slip, though." Euclid smiled like a saint and pulled on her cheek until she whined out another apology. "Callum is a cozy place. You can trust the witch in charge of it." He almost returned Alouette's skeptical look with a smirk, but held back. "I can tell when someone's a survivor. But it's been years. I know." Euclid confirmed that it was 102,031, the same year the dolls claimed it was. Today is spring 125. Summer starts at dawn. How frightening. This man had tracked every year, day, and hour since his death 8 years ago. He'd been lying in wait, holding onto sanity and knowledge as cards in his hand. "When you were stationed here, did you meet the doll witch?" "I was wondering when you'd ask," he replied, leaning against the cliff wall. "It was just once at the start of the war. I was in charge of recruiting witches in this area on behalf of the Pearl Capital. However, the doll witch declined and stayed neutral. In those uncommon cases, the forces of Witch Domina had no choice but to leave them be, unlike conscription policies in the human world. Respect and mutuality are at the foundation of witch kind. The moment you intrude upon one's territory, their dominion, all bets are off. My audience with Doll was a short one. So when you met him, Alouette began. Euclid frowned, wondering what she had experienced. "Does that mean you saw me too?" The story of her circumstances was disconcerting and mystifying even for him. Folding his arms, Euclid covered his mouth with a hand and looked away to think. He committed to memory the faces, voices, and habits of everyone he met. Every insignificant fact about the people he'd crossed paths with was burned into his head. Not because he cared, but to give the illusion that he did. The smallest bit of information could be the key to survival. Thus, he was certain the female voice he heard in that house a decade ago was not the same as the girl in front of him. And yet, with the clarity that Euclid would gamble his life on, the doll witch called that woman Alouette. Euclid's eyes narrowed like a snake's before closing. "I only saw Doll. I can't say for certain if you were there." Though disappointed, Alouette accepted that as the whole truth. She believed him. The witch's mouth twitched at her naivete, but he stayed silent. More information was necessary. Alouette twiddled her fingers, but stopped when she remembered one of the hands wasn't hers. "What does he look like?" Euclid gave her a troubled smile. Doll never showed himself to this girl? That witch was a recluse, but didn't hide himself a decade ago. What a strange hole in the timeline, especially because, whether by fate, chance, or fabrication, Doll resembled her. He could have passed as a relative, but still looked different enough to be a friend, or lover, or... No, it was the reverse. Alouette resembled the doll witch. Euclid's expression warped into a grimace. "It's been a long time. I may not remember clearly. He lied by omission. Alouette thanked him anyway and let the subject go. Too easy. It was all too easy to deceive her, he thought as irritation smoldered in the back of his mind. Even fledgling witches weren't this gullible. His wording was embarrassingly sloppy. How unlike him. Hopefully you've realized by now, Euclid cared little about helping Alouette. His staff hadn't glimmered for her. It was all for his own sake. He had planned to steal her body, but realized it would be a downgrade from even being dead. So, he switched to a backup plan. To merge the half of his soul in his staff with the grave, cheat death for the upteenth time, and work from there. Alouette's fate was none of his concern. Her role as a delivery girl was over. And yet, he revealed his name. During his life, he rebuffed every opportunity to tell it to people who almost mattered. Now, Alouette was the last one left to hear him. This moment, too, neared its end. Can you come with me? She sounded like a child who had been separated from her parents. Caught off guard, Euclid's face grew stiff, and his eye twitched in the first genuine expression he had shown her. Sighing, he pointed at the Soul constellation. I have to leave for the stars. Besides, I can only move as far as my roots stretch. His eyes fell on the upright staff. It didn't look like a staff anymore, already having metamorphosed into a tree sapling. The old bark had stripped off, revealing a sparkling core of weaved emerald and vines rooting into the ground. Alouette mumbled understanding and looked down. Her face turned red as she regretted mustering up the courage to ask him. Despite this, she didn't move, wanting to bask in the company of the closest thing to another person for just a bit longer. For better or worse, she didn't catch his look of disgust. Euclid didn't understand goodness. He didn't idolize the things that which kind did. He didn't give a damn about territories, dominions, or becoming a twinkling star in the Soul constellation. His own survival was the priority. It was a culture where witches wouldn't bat an eye if someone was maimed in a duel for a dominion. Others would have called him strange for thinking it absurd. After all, the other witches had something they dedicated themselves to, something they would live and die for. Despite having the talent for a dominion, he never desired one. It would draw unwanted attention. All this considered, in these final moments when there was nothing left for him to gain, Euclid did something very unlike himself. Glowering, he plucked a leafy sprout from the grave marker and held it out for Alouette. This is for you. She looked unsure. Oh, of course. He forgot to plaster on another charming smile. Once he did, she hesitantly held out her right hand in automatic politeness. But Euclid grabbed the doll hand instead. Red sparks zapped in rejection when he touched the Dominion mark. Suspicious of the man's intentions, the doll witch was guarding Alouette from foreign witchcraft. She yelped in surprise, while Euclid grinned wickedly, amused by the challenge. He fixed a lock of his hair and shrugged. Hey, I reattached her limbs, didn't I? I'm going to help. We witches never lie. What's the twig for? There's no wood, it's a sprout. Euclid would never admit it, but he was having the first fun in a very long time, longer than before the war had started. Eat it, he ordered, waving the leaf under her nose. Alouette coughed, even without a mystery plant down her throat. I don't want to. Grudgingly, Alouette chewed and swallowed until not a stray plant fiber was left. Upon his request, she had even opened her mouth for him to check under her tongue and between her teeth. Euclid raised an eyebrow and turned away to snicker, amused that she had gone through with it. Huffing, Alouette grabbed his ghostly cheek, which stretched like dough. Doll's hand tried to slap him, but Euclid narrowly dodged. Still laughing, he rubbed the pinched side of his face. No need to get violent, miss. That wasn't me, I swear. Euclid gave an all-knowing smug look, and his crinkled eyes finally matched the curl of his lips. It was a face he seldom showed in his lifetime. No one would have trusted this Cheshire grin. The things that death does to you. It didn't matter if he put on a facade anymore. If only he would join the stars. Why'd you make me eat that? Nutritional purposes. Alouette's hand moved in for another pinch, while Doll's hand balled up for a punch. It's to create a connection, he explained, hopping away to the edge of his roots. You gave me the bandages, so I've returned the favor. When you're in trouble, invoke my name. I can come to help you, but only once. Alouette's blue eye glittered with gratitude as her opinion of him flipped again. Her innocent radiance reminded him of the Soul Constellation and all the other people he had deceived in life. Irritation whittled at him as she said something about how kind he was, how he was a good witch. Euclid continued to smile and block the noise out until Alouette finally said she was going to leave. By the way, according to the dolls, the war ended 3 years ago. If witches never lie, then it must be true. Euclid chuckled to hide his boiling contempt and humiliation for having died only halfway into the war. Fast learner. She was clueless. And yet, he helped her more than he ever would have in life. Since he'd done so much already, it wouldn't hurt to help a little more. Even if she wasn't meant to live much longer, especially with a body like that. Euclid sat on a boulder beside his grave and beckoned her to join him. Seating herself with a polite distance between them, Alouette peeked at his melancholy profile. Without a word, he reached over to a nook in the boulder. His hand phased through solid rock and pebbles until reaching a crushed wildflower. Attempting to prop it back up, he tugged despite not being able to make contact with the obstructing rocks. Once Alouette realized this, she jumped up and excavated it. I think it's dead. Ignoring her sympathetic words, Euclid stroked the underside of the petals. Green light shone from his fingertips through his gloves, invigorating it and sprouting new buds. Amazed, Alouette leaned in closer. Her hand brushed against Euclid's, prompting her to blush and apologize. He paid no attention, occupied with the reason why they were able to touch at all. But after a moment and a few minutes longer, they sat there. Just a boy and a girl, talking about some beautifully trivial things that neither of them would remember. It would become his fondest memory. Witches are simpler than they seem. They want a specific thing and will do anything to achieve their dream. If you respect that, you'll get along with any of them. It was a piece of advice that had kept him alive for hundreds of years. He wasn't sure why he was telling her. I see. Alouette pondered. In that case, well, what do you want? And he stopped. The mask fell. He stared at her, his olive eyes dull and hollow. Alouette flinched, wondering if she had said something out of line again. Just as she opened her mouth, his voice lashed out. No, it's not taboo. No, I don't want your apologies or sympathy. And no, I'm not reading your mind. Euclid hissed bitter words, but she had no idea why. He didn't give her the chance to ask. You're so naive and easy to read. It's annoying, he added, standing back up. The girl watched in confusion as he clicked his tongue before gritting his teeth. Don't you get it? I've been using you. You even ate a part of me because I asked nicely. Now I could tear your organs inside out and turn you into fertilizer if I felt like it. Even Doll wouldn't be able to protect you. Euclid leaned in close and picked up a lock of her hair. How dumb do you need to be? Doing as you're told like a little puppet? You fit right in with that dollhouse. It's almost pathetic enough to be cute. The closer he came, the colder the air froze around them. Why don't you go back while you still can? The switch in his attitude was strange and somehow unconvincing, but hurt nonetheless. She wanted to ask what was making him say this, but a scowl silenced her. I hate people like you. I've used you morons all my life. The two remained still, their noses nearly touching. Alouette whispered, quivering. Ask what your dream is. You were the one who said I'd... Perhaps she wouldn't be able to understand this witch's heart either. She lowered her head. Euclid stared down at her, and then away. It doesn't matter if the war is over. People don't change. You'll die out there, and it won't be easy or pretty. Go back to Doll. Not looking up from the ground, Alouette shook her head. Doll's hand lay dormant in her lap, respecting her choice. Euclid heaved a long sigh before backing off. Do you remember my name? He asked, smoothing out his bangs, as if he needed something to hold after releasing her hair. Alouette nodded, remembering the ticklish warmth of his hands. Remember, it'll work only once. Summon me when absolutely necessary. I'm confident in any life or death situation, though I don't prefer combat. Don't use my name in vain. I'm not a witch, the girl mumbled. Euclid sighed and pulled her cheek just as half-heartedly. Ghosts can't touch the living, but you allowed me to. It isn't compatibility with the forest or healing. No, you came into contact with me and awakened that suit of armor. The valley of rotted bodies, not those beautiful flowers, called to you. His fingertips rested against her cheek. They were as gentle as when he traced those precious letters in her palm. Your affinity is with death. As Alouette's head snapped up in disbelief, Euclid grabbed her wrist and shoved her out of his root's range. He gave one last hard stare before gesturing in the direction of the valley and refusing to acknowledge her again. Alouette wanted to argue, call him names, and criticize how moody and impossible he was, until realizing he had become more translucent than before. This twisted bastard meant every venomous word he spat. At the same time, he had taught her more than returning his staff warranted. He was trying to warn her. The horrifying doll was the only witch she had dealt with so far, and that one loved her. With this single encounter, Alouette saw and understood more sides of Euclid than anyone else had. Nonetheless, she'd never learned how much her parting words meant to him. You don't think I'll make it on my own? Honestly, I agree, Alouette admitted. You're terrible, but I still wish you could have come with me. Thanks, Euclid. I promise to never forget your name. His hand twitched. He almost gave in and looked at her. She took a deep breath and let some choice words slip. I'll even repeat it in my head every day so I don't forget. Sorry in advance if I say it in my sleep and someone hears. It's your fault for telling me, jerk. Certain that he didn't want to share another second with her, Alouette took off running. If she had looked back, she would have laid eyes upon the rarest sight in Domina, a surprised, vulnerable Euclid who didn't know if he wanted to laugh or hurl back insults of his own. The girl's footsteps grew fainter. Good, she wasn't stumbling. His fix would be serviceable until she arrived at the flower field and recruited the suit of armor. The forest asked if Euclid wanted Alouette's whereabouts. He declined and requested to be left alone. Euclid began to laugh at himself. What did he want? It was an embarrassingly innocent wish. He couldn't bring himself to say it in death, not even after telling her his name. Conveying his hopes to another would be true vulnerability, even if none of it mattered now. Soon he would become another star consigned to oblivion in the massive sky. Despite having no regrets about how he lived, Euclid would agree that his life was meaningless. He survived for the sake of it. It had been some sort of fun seeing how far he was able to go, the deceptions he plotted, and what witches, more powerful, intelligent, and skilled than him, died first. But now that he had a chance to catch his breath, the remnants of a human heart registered his buried feelings of solitude. On this starry night, Euclid let the mask fall as he gazed at his emerald sapling, endeavoring to live. If he transferred his soul to it, he could haunt the area. Getting his hands on a body would be a matter of waiting. But if he did that, she wouldn't be able to summon him from the stars. He wouldn't be there to answer her call for help. His eyes fixed on the sapling, but not because he was considering his options. Because it reminded Euclid of her. 8 years ago, the anti-witch mind robbed his senses before and after killing him. His soul waned in the aging staff. Faint was his recognition of the world around him. He counted the minutes as they accrued into years. Visions of the girl's life in the forest were glimpses, a gentle stirring in the sea of consciousness every time her shoes crunched the grass. Euclid saw how broken she was when she first emerged from the house, how she made step after step, continuing past his staff and into the valley. What a sad spectacle. Put this girl out of her misery. She has no future even if she recovers. All the times she hid in the forest to cry were hard to watch. The moments when her face brightened with shaky confidence were even crueler. Euclid felt no desire to comfort or cheer this utterly hopeless and capable girl on. And yet, she captivated what was left of his sight. I should have stared a little longer. Remembering her cheeky parting words, Euclid covered his mouth and burst out laughing. How many centuries had it been since he smiled so heartily? If he were to give it some thought, he'd be able to deduce the exact amount of time. This witch had a strange habit of keeping track of things that no one else cared about. And I guess she's the newest and last addition. The sickeningly bright Soul constellation was the only company left. Its stars gleamed to boast that Euclid had lost. He would join them soon. Ruffling his hair in annoyance, Euclid snickered as he berated himself one last time. Why did he make such a heavy promise on a whim? It wasn't a contract, so there was no obligation to follow through. Except that girl was counting on him. She would remember him. Alouette, he whispered on the lonely night of spring 125, 102,031. A lovely name. But I wonder what your real one is. Euclid held a hand over his throat. Once again, he didn't understand his actions. We cannot say if he was covering the wound or cradling the girl's makeshift gift. With one final ambiguous smile, the witch named Euclid, bandages and all, dissolved into kaleidoscopic light.
That that was a lot. that Death Witch. I wonder if that is the, because he did say it was affinity. It wasn't a dominion. So Alouette is genuinely just a no-name witch. I'm more curious about this line. A lovely name, but I wonder what your real one is. And then the whole like, oh, she resembled the doll witch more than like, or what did he say? He said, well, hold on, where is it? Hold on, where is it? There we go. The female voice he heard in that house a decade ago was not the same as the girl in front of him, and yet with the clarity that Euclid would gamble his life on, the doll witch called that woman Alouette. So, what What is what does that mean? Is the Doll Witch our local problematic king? Is he what is is Alouette like what a title he gives to his beloveds TM? Is that what's going on? And then like this bit as well. What a strange hole in the timeline, especially because whether by fate or chance or fabrication, Doll resembled her. He could have passed as a relative, but still looked different enough to be a friend or lover, or no, it was reverse. Alouette resembled the Doll Witch. That thing reproduced? Ah! That's scary! Yo! No, that witch was a recluse but didn't hide himself a decade ago. Okay. Who is Alouette? Because now this opens up the possibility that like we've been asking, or well, I have been asking, right? What was Alouette like before she lost her memories? There's a high chance that the things that everybody else is talking about, like the dolls and like everybody's like, oh, you always change your mind. It could not be our Alouette. It could be like the OG Alouette. Unless the OG Alouette and her are no, because it said like that's not what she sounds like. The female voice he heard in the house a decade ago was not the same as the girl in front of him. So like, huh? What is that? What? I'm stupid. Please. What the heck? Huh? Also, I'm glad that I was right not to trust Euclid. Bastard man. Kicks him. Doll never showed himself to this girl. The witch was a recluse but didn't hide himself a decade ago. She resembles the Doll Witch. How odd. How curious. Cause like from what we're getting, right? Doll Witch kidnapped our Alouette. Right? Our current Alouette, he by normal standards, he kidnapped her. You're like, Alouette, you trust people way too easily. Oh hell nah. It's cooked. No. Cause if that's the case, then I'm stupid. I feel there's something there that's staring me right in the face, but I can't grasp it. I can't put it into words. But yeah, so now new questions, I suppose. Who really is our current Alouette? Is Doll Witch, where did you find this girl? Hey, Doll, where did you find this girl? Where did you yoink her from? Because if that's the case, no, I'm really wondering now. Cause like all of his lines that are like, oh, I could give you, we could walk in the city, or I could give you your own city, or I could give you the heads of anyone who displeases you. There's a high chance that he wasn't even talking of her. Like our Alouette, he could be remembering every other Alouette that came before. What is that? I'm also wondering, okay, so we got the doll witch, and he's in like tatters, right? He's freaking torso, an arm, a head. Is he in tatters because of the war? Or is he in tatters because of what Alouette said 3 years ago? Like, is 3 years ago, they got into a huge argument and she, like, wrecked his shit. Is that why he's, like, in ruins? Or, like, is that just the vessel that he chose to appear to her as? Like, that's not even really him. Like, If a witch has something that they basically obsess over, why is the doll witch obsessed with Alouette? Yeah, that is a good question. Well, no. Well, maybe that's just his love language, you know? Maybe maybe he's just crazy like that. No, yeah, it is a bit odd that if she has an affinity with death, then that explains the whole suit of armor thing, I guess? I don't know, like, I don't know. Well, at least we know that she can touch ghosts. At least we know that much. We know that she can manipulate ghosts, I guess. Like she can squish Euclid's cheek or whatever. She can yank on him when he pisses her off. I don't know. That So many questions. So many questions. What the frick? Many, many questions. My goodness. I wonder how Euclid's gonna come back, because from what I'm understanding, Euclid, he's gonna pull a flowery and Gerona all over the place. So like I wonder how they're gonna utilize him. I guess shrugs. High chance they'll just use it for a bit. I don't know. Considering how Alouette is, you never know. Who is the voice actor? Who's your voice actor, King? J Lai. Mr. J Lai, thank you for lending your voice to Euclid. He pisses me off, thank you. I hate him, thank you. Send post. But alright. Okay. What does that mean to have an affinity with death anyway? Like, yeah, like, yeah, I know you can, like, touch, you know, ghosts and whatever, like that, okay, that makes sense. But, like, in Italian, y'all have a saying, mi sto facendo I castelli in aria. I'm building myself flying castles as a way of imagining a lot of if scenarios. Yeah. Felt that in the soul. I do be building a lot of flying castles right now. Now I also wonder what Alouette's real name is. If Alouette isn't her real name. Who is she? Who is our girl? What kind of CL Black Butler situation we got going on? Cause see, context for that statement. The CL, the main character in Black Butler, his name isn't even CL. He took the name and identity of his twin brother. But we don't even know what his original identity is. What kind of CL Black Butler, William James Moriarty from Moriarty the Patriot kind of situation do we got going on? Who are you, Alouette? Who are you? Ah! Ugh. Alright. Konu, are you stressed? Yes. High key. High key stress. Thank you. No, alright. Fine. Sure. Whatever. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Of witchcraft.
Anti-mine witch. Yeah, anti-witch mines apparently have harpoon-like shapes. Yeah. So when they were launching that shit at the witches. Ah, that's terrifying. Alright. Let's party. Okay. Swan Grey. Oh, this is, that guy's friend. Okay.
Chapter 6. Mother. Alouette fell to her knees by the immobile pile of armor. The brand new boots toppled from her arms onto the ground. She told him everything, as she had no memories past waking up bedbound in the doll witch's house a year ago. Why she escaped, and that she couldn't get far on her own. How scared and lonely she was. A cool breeze blew through the night, rustling the white bellflowers in the valley grave. No response came. Alouette slumped, ashamed of her helplessness. Perhaps he had already gone to the soul constellation, like Euclid. Maybe he didn't care. Clutching at her skirt, her eyes welled with tears. She already wanted to summon Euclid, but that would be too pathetic. He would just berate her desperation, tug her cheek, and return to the stars. Wiping her eyes against a sleeve, she smiled through a sob at the thought. An unfamiliar voice interrupted the night. So, you're the doll witch. Get up. We're here for your dominion. Alouette no longer had the will to stand or deny anything. Doing the bare minimum of glancing over her shoulder, a younger girl dressed in a puffy purple dress came into view. On her wide-brimmed hat sat puppets and dolls between oversized bows. Although she spoke like an irritable teenager, she was not human. The flowery polish and lines of symmetry running across her face and joints attested as such. The snow-white bear from before walked behind the challenger. All parts of it were colorless. The fur, claws, nose, and eyes. Even its blood ran lucid. Such was the course of every living thing that became a familiar of the Justice Witch. It had come to oversee the duel. Challengers had the right to demand them, and it was the Dominion holders' responsibility to defend their title or surrender it. You can have it, Alouette muttered, staring at the hem of her skirt. I want you to take this hand off of me. The challenger's eye twitched. The doll dominion belonged to someone this feeble and apathetic? It was blasphemous, unheard of, for a dominion holder to act in such a way. Wood clattered with every menacing step the puppet took closer to grant her wish. Clack, 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 came a gravely familiar noise. It sounded like the workshop, the cabinet in the darkness, the real doll witch outstretching bone-white fingers for her to accept, her own joints. Alouette was sick of it all. It would be easier to accept whatever was about to happen. Maybe that would sever the knot of witchcraft entangling her. It indeed was the end. To the first act. A sharp breeze flew through the valley, snapping her eyes open. Petals darted into the air and met her tears before they fell into the soil. She gasped and saw that the armor, boots and all, had disappeared. He had left her sight in order to join her side. Alouette turned to see his back standing tall and ready, his frayed scarf casting a protective shadow over her. He glanced in reassurance before facing forward. Alouette's heart swelled as she wondered more than ever what his name was. The challenger crossed her arms. "Mother, we've got this." The white bear grunted and walked to the middle of the field, but not between them. Making a dog-like whine, it conveyed that it was ready to referee. They just needed to decide the terms of the duel. Alouette tugged on the suit of armor's belt. "You don't have to fight for me. I'll give up." He knew how she felt. Minutes ago, she cried on his grave about how she wasn't the real doll witch. But considering the weight of dominions, there had to be a reason why Doll left it with her. He looked side to side before stooping to pluck blades of grass. First, pointing at himself, he spelled something letter by letter. G, Alouette sounded out as he laid the grass in the dirt. U. He waited for her to discern the letters in the darkness, nodding with each one before continuing. Y. O. T. Guio. His treasured name, given to him by a cherished person. The girl's face filled with confusion, surprise, and joy. I'm Alouette, she repeated. Is Guio your name? Am I saying it right? He nodded and bowed before taking hold of Doll's hand. Balling up the wooden fingers, he placed it into the palm of Alouette's. No matter how unwanted, the doll witch was having her borrow this irreplaceable asset. The decent thing to do would be to take care of it until the time to face him came again. She nodded back, trusting in Guio, and ever so slightly, the doll witch. Hurry up, the challenger jeered. Taking a deliberate moment before reacting, Guio rose. Plenty of duels proceeded as displays of knowledge and skill instead of brawls. But as Alouette lacked the former, combat was their only option. Does a fight to the death sound good to you? Alouette looked horrified. Of course not. Maiming? No! The challenger stomped about. Oh, come on. It's not like people usually die during duels. Then what's the point? So you can go all out and see who's the best, duh. Still, no. She stomped some more. It sounded like someone dropped an armful of wooden tiles. How is Doll such a wimp? I should kill you now. Hearing that, the bear growled and gnashed its teeth in her direction. She shrank and mumbled that it was a joke. The justice witches throughout history took it upon themselves to give structure to witch domina, deeming unwarranted violence a grave offense. It was a different story if both parties decided to wager their lives. How would they decide the victor, then? Alouette suggested the goal of the duel to be claiming a doll limb from the other. It'd be a safe option while being more difficult to steal. The challenger opened her mouth to protest, but froze and stared straight ahead, tuning in to someone with the utmost care. Once she regained focus, she stuck out a wooden tongue and agreed to the terms. Guio pointed at his gauntlets and boots, offering to be the target. Alouette finally smiled. Her first impression of him had been right. No way. I and the dolls made that for you. Bashfully rubbing where his neck would be, he stood at the ready. The challenger clicked her tongue. Hello? Where's your weapon? Guio shrugged, declining to pick up the rusted ones scattered along the valley. From the side, the bear grunted to draw their attention. No killing, no major injuries. The use of anti-witch weaponry is illegal. Violations will nullify the results. Offenders may be gathered and prosecuted in the Pearl Capital. Victory goes to whomever claims the other's doll limb first. The prize is the doll dominion. Wait, Alouette said. What if I win? Aw, you noticed. I thought you were going to do it for free. Alouette gave the challenger a dirty look and wondered if she should make her grovel as her prize. Dominion-holding witches couldn't refuse duels, but postponing them and negotiating rewards was within their rights. What should it be? To survive in the outside world, resources came first, but currency may have fluctuated after a war. I want, Alouette mulled, enough witch dominion currency that can last to... Did Guio need to eat? Well, 2 adults. Living an upper-middle-class lifestyle. In the Pearl Capital? For 1 year. including groceries, rent, and utilities. The challenger's mouth hung agape while Guillot whipped around, his chin guard dangling. Who do you think you are? Hey, Alouette snapped, acting for her life. I'm the doll Her breath cut off. She tried to gasp, yell, but the words wouldn't come. It was the strangest thing. Wielder, the Dominions. So, make it worth our time. The challenger across the field raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? This won't even be a death match. 1 season. 3? 1.5, and that's it. The Justice Familiar huffed. Doll was a competitive, lauded dominion. Rewards were a way to respect the holder's time and deter swarms of challengers. At the same time, advancement would halt if the bar was unreasonable. The bear made the call. 2 seasons, as it was well within the opposition's means. I accept, Alouette announced. She and Guillot flashed each other a thumbs up as the puppet girl's teeth ground. An amused, elegant woman's voice resounded throughout the valley. We graciously accept. Have fun, Synth. Alouette and Guillot had no time to wonder who it was. With a roar, the duel began. Synth grinned and raised both arms above her head, the joints shining in rings of purple underneath her lace gloves. Wooden hands emerged from the ground at Alouette's feet and clutched her ankles, giving Guillot pause just as he was about to dash ahead. I'm okay. Focus on her. Alouette tried to be brave. It would be fine. She had been through worse. This was nothing. The girl raised her left hand and whispered, Please, help us. Her wish was his command. Scarlet wires looped around the puppet hands and dragged them out of the ground. However, it didn't stop at digging up disembodied hands or even mannequins. The upheaval revealed sectioned, snake-like arms 3 times Alouette's height. You fell for it. Synth summoned purple strings, manipulating the arms from afar as they clacked into a domed cage around Alouette. 10 bars curled closer like a pair of hands, about to play with a toy. The doll witch's hand spurred into action, raising Alouette's arm and uncoiling her fingers. A band of red wires spiraled outward, hooking around the serpent's wrists, threading and looping until they became bound to each other. Sudden movements by one strangled the rest. His red wires spun, haunting, mesmerizing, and mathematical, like the pattern of a seashell. Horrific amazement stunned Alouette until she remembered that this was just as much her fight. Taking a deep breath, she clenched the doll hand into a fist as the serpents writhed for freedom in a paralyzing tug-of-war. Alouette plunged to the ground, using their combined weight to close her fingers. Razor sharp, the red wires cleaved through all 10 arms, rendering them splintered wood. The doll witch plotted his counterattack. Red streaks darted across the field past Guillot and around Synth. She gasped and released a barrier-like grate of her strings in time to block the assault. The 2-toned wires pulled at each other in all directions, screeching and shooting sparks. At every angle, both strings snapped. Their wake left a blinking, fading gleam. One red thread floated like a stray spiderweb before zipping past Synth's face. Several strands of her prized hair fell as a warning. As a fit ensued on the other side, Alouette looked down at the Dominion mark in awe. It felt like someone was holding a hand over hers, guiding it to paint a masterpiece. She snapped back to attention. We have to immobilize her hands, specifically her fingers. Guillot signaled with a wave as he continued running, kicking up grass and petals as he weaved and skidded through Synth's strings. Fuming, she crossed her outstretched arms before pulling them away parallel to the ground. Purple strings stretched into a cat's cradle shape, firing a laser-like net at him. Without losing speed, Guillot placed a thoughtful gauntlet on his chin. As the grid came close enough to cut a normal man into pieces, the same hand tossed his helmet up and over. All the other pieces of armor disassembled mid-sprint, sliding through the gaps and defying gravity. The outermost layers of the bulky hip guards and breastplate shredded white-hot across the strings before reuniting on the other end. He emerged unscathed, besides a bit more fraying on his scarf. "Ugh! How can a hunk of metal move that well?" Synth growled, retracting her strings. Guillot was closing the distance, and it looked like the advantage was with him and Alouette. But then, she giggled. Strands of thread rained down on the valley, enough to illuminate the land purple. Lighting up and hanging high without the end of the line in sight, the threads mimicked a connection to the Soul constellation. Old, heavy strips of cloth and rusted weapons shuffled and clanged as they rose from the ground. Doll's strings attempted to cut through them, making contact for a split second before phasing through. Alouette gasped as a cyclone erupted. Synth's wires soared across the valley, crisscrossing, looping, and searching for the pieces to their puzzles. Held together by a twister, the flurry of swords, spears, and chipped armor assured devastation in the eye of its storm. The doll witch's strings snagged and redirected projectiles that came Alouette's way, but even he would be able to do only so much with one hand. Alouette exchanged looks with Guillot, who had turned to her in concern. "Take me to him." A thick red wire crossed the field and looped around Guillot's gauntlet. Grabbing hold of it, he pulled Alouette close and deflected the incoming blades. Synth grinned. "Hey, is that suit of armor from here? Great. You can play with your old friends again." The wind died, and all debris halted mid-trajectory before lowering to the ground. From the pieces rose a dozen reanimated human soldiers and witches. These headless, empty dolls lacked most of their limbs. Floating armors and weapons compensated the rest, stitched together by pulsating threads. Guillot's fist clenched, but not because he was averse to fighting his old comrades. His feelings about them and the war ran more complex than that. Focusing ahead, Guillot stepped in front of Alouette. She held her hand over Doll's. It was the reason why he hadn't acted yet. The patchwork construction of these enemies implied that they would reassemble and fight endlessly. Sure enough, Doll could defeat these soldiers. For Alouette's sake, he would tear the Forsaken deceased into absolute shreds, until their very concept came to an end. That would undo Synth's witchcraft. All Alouette had to do was lift her hand, leave the dirty work to the true doll witch. But she remembered what Euclid said. She had an affinity with death. Now was a chance to answer one of her countless questions. Alouette tiptoed beside Guillot and faced the corpses. She didn't know what to say until a reminder floated into her head. Witches are simpler than they seem. You don't need a spell or incantation, but for your own sake, mean every word you speak. Stand down, please. You shouldn't be fighting anymore. The girl's voice shook. She couldn't hear herself over the anxiety-induced ringing in her ears. Even if it worked, it would confirm that she was a death witch. What were the implications? What would come after that? Wondering if even trying was a huge mistake, she gripped the doll hand. The wooden fingers held her trembling one's back. A cool gauntlet rested on her shoulder. Keeping her eyes on the corpses, Alouette made an effort to calm herself. She wanted to reassure Guillot in the same way he had rescued her. You all have to go back to sleep. Except... Alouette looked up at her new partner. I hope you can come with me, even though it's because I'm pathetic and too scared on my own. Having already decided, Guillot nodded. The pair turned to see the soldiers standing still despite Synth barking orders for them to attack. "They're the deceased, not your dolls," Alouette snapped. Her words were the truth. The soldiers jolted in place as Synth's wires disappeared. Ignoring everything else, the world a war later, each other, and especially this duel, they slunk back to their graves. It worked. Euclid was right. Alouette's shoulders dropped. Guillot had only an inkling of how much his presence meant to her at this moment. Ugh, whatever. The fight was just for fun. I had this in the bag all along. Getting over her frustration as quickly as the seasons transitioned, Synth turned her nose up. "You're dumb. So dumb. I can't believe you said it out in the open earlier, and still haven't realized." A chill crawled down Alouette's spine. It could only be one thing. "Cry, beg for mercy, become one of Mother's dolls and hand over the doll dominion yourself," Synth chanted. "Alouette!" No one moved. Alouette didn't feel any different. She opened and closed her fists and tapped her heel on the ground. But it seemed normal. Nothing had happened. She and Guillot exchanged looks. Even the bear, who had watched the heated duel with a blank face, whined in confusion. Synth, the most baffled of all, knocked her knees as her jaw hung with a loose screw. The peace-loving, kind-hearted Guillot saw his chance and charged at her, drawing his right gauntlet to his breastplate and rotating the closed fist clockwise. Signing sorry, an apology more for his own sake than hers, he threw Synth to the ground, clamping her fingers shut. In unison, red wires wrapped around her knee and threatened to rip it off. "Could you surrender?" Alouette asked. "Fake! Fake! You're a phony!" Synth wriggled, raring to fight. Doll tightened the strings, and Alouette didn't stop him. "Enough," an elegant woman's voice ordered. "We are outclassed. The fact that you do not realize this is a reflection of my ineptitude." The familiar name Synth stopped in her tracks, gritting her teeth. "But Mother, you've worked forever to be the doll witch. It's not fair." There was no one else in sight, Alouette thought, before making eye contact with the puppet on Synth's hat. It remained immobile and expressionless, but somehow seemed amused. "You're a phony too," Alouette muttered at Synth. If Synth had skin, her face would have flushed red. Mother surrendered with amicable grace. A wave of white light swept the field, approving the results. Rewards would be procured within 72 hours unless agreed upon otherwise. The bear grumbled and lay down to nap. "How do you do?" "You may call me Mother," the proxy puppet greeted, giggling when Guillot and Alouette kept their guards up. "I would never claim a dominion outside a legal duel. Justices are too troublesome to deal with if you catch their attention." Mother wasn't her real name. It was what witches called a surface name, which they could share freely. However, there were two caveats. One, these names had to be intimately connected to the individual. Using a surface name increased the likelihood of others unveiling your identity. Ultimately, these were nicknames that had to be conveyed in a roundabout fashion. Two, it was impossible to say, "My name is so-and-so," or "I'm so-and-so," as Alouette did to Guillot. This privilege of existence belonged to true names and dominion titles. I don't know. I'm not even a witch," Alouette admitted before pausing. There was something she wanted to know sooner or later. She spoke in a quiet voice, testing to see if the words would come out. "But I'm a death witch." Somehow, both statements were correct. How curious," Mother mused. "Not a human, but not quite a witch. And then we have a suit of armor who is certainly dead but still alive. The reminder prompted Synth to stick her tongue out at Guillot, who signed another futile sorry. Oh, the poor thing can't speak. Synth, be a dear and give them a pen and paper. What? You mean, like, to keep? Well, yes. Will they otherwise procure materials from the forest, like prehistoric men? I, don't have any. Nonsense. What about your scrapbook? But that's mine! Mother's puppet rattled. Synth yelped and dug out a pink flowery notebook from under her hat. Pouting, she handed Guillot a page torn from the back and her least favorite pen. The girl in the suit of armor finally had a way to communicate. Alouette twiddled her fingers as Guillot tapped the pen on his chin guard in thought and began to write. The first message was short compared to how long he spent ruminating. Alouette read the neat handwriting with fluttering high hopes. Hi, Alouette. Am I spelling your name right? Thanks for the belts and boots. Synth cocked an eyebrow as Mother chuckled. Guillot had drawn the exclamation marks last, worried that periods would sound too serious. Yeah, probably anyway, she replied. And you're welcome. The dolls did most of the work. Not knowing what to do or say next, the shy pair fidgeted. Synth almost interrupted them, but cowered when Mother's puppet let out another stern rattle. Are you sure about coming with me? I don't know where I'm going or what to do. Guillot had to inch the paper under Alouette's nose as she was preoccupied with facing the remarkably interesting ground. We'll figure it out together, if you'll have me. Alouette smiled as Doll wiped at her eyes. After some scribbling, Guillot handed over the paper again and drooped in shame. I'm sorry that I didn't answer you sooner. It's okay. From your point of view, I was some weird witch walking in a graveyard. His pauldrons jumped. That reminded him. She peeked over, excited to see what he was writing so furiously. Her face turned sour within seconds. It was an essay about how she was too trusting in the first place. What if he was a bad person? He could have robbed and kidnapped her, or been an undead, or cursed, or both, and... Alouette stayed his hand. I get it. Guillot gave her a look that said she, in fact, did not. I'd like to think I'm a good judge of character. Euclid was not mentioned for convenience's sake. Mother allowed them to share the moment a bit longer. How sweet. Possibly you'll find a prince or princess like that one day. Gross! Right now, the doll witch was only a hand, but evermore an indomitable, undeniable genius. If Mother used everything at her disposal, there was a 50-50 chance she could claim the Dominion. Let's see, Mother mused as Guillot continued to write his grievances up in the air where Alouette couldn't reach. Suit of armor, how old were you at the time of death? Synth shooed away Alouette, who complied with a squint. Guillot made a 2 and then a 7 with his hands. How terribly young. What of your parents? Guillot took extra care to write a neat response. At times, he would pause before continuing, simplifying his story while preserving its weight. After several minutes of writing, he showed Mother the letter. She spent just as much time scrutinizing the words. Eventually, she raised a hand, satisfied. I will let you go. However, the puppet on the hat fell limp. Emerging from the nondescript proxy's figure was a shadow that stretched many times more than its size. Blotting out what scant light remained, the darkness melded into a noblewoman with a luxurious feathered hat, streams of pearls, and ribbons decorating a voluptuous wire petticoat. A ruffled fan crossed her collar and rested against her shoulder. If there is a single lie in what you have told me, the shadow spoke, lips pursed in amusement, I will make you one of my dolls. You shall wish you were never born. I would never lie about my mother. Thank you for sparing us, madam. You are a terribly fearsome witch, and I mean this in the most flattering way possible. Watching the exchange with bated breath, Alouette sighed in relief upon seeing Mother chuckle and Guillot bow. Mother then spoke in a quieter, private voice. "Dearest knight, are you confident you can stand by that girl, no matter what she is?" Guillot looked over at Alouette, who glanced around, wondering what they were talking about now. His hand remained steady. "I'm no knight, and we're acquaintances, and soon-to-be companions, by chance. If she's the person she's shown me so far, I'll gladly stay." The shadow's features softened. "Very well, but do visit your mother sometime before your journey ends." Guillot gripped the left side of his breastplate and nodded. He tucked the paper into a gauntlet as Mother beckoned Alouette back. Synth jabbed the back of her knees, forcing her into an animated curtsy. Alouette would have shoved the smaller girl into the dirt if Mother hadn't begun talking. "Miss Alouette, may you regain your identity," she said, referring to Guillot's letter. "Perhaps your mother awaits your safe return as well." "As well?" Looking over, Alouette realized Guillot's thoughts had caught him, like when they first met. "But if not, I would be obliged to fill the role. Space is limitless for children in my residence and my heart, as long as they become my dolls." Mother ignored Synth's jealous whining. Her shadow performed a proper curtsy, while Synth stuck her tongue out again for good measure. "Farewell, suit of armor and little death witch," she cooed. "Oh, and how could I forget? The doll witch as well." Tittering ran through the valley as the pair disappeared in a ballooning void. Starlight found its way back to the ground. Once they were gone, something curious happened. Two lively voices similar to, but not quite like the witch and her familiar, could be heard. They echoed, like the long-forgotten, sweetest part of a dream. "Mom, you still haven't praised me for the fight!" "Oh dear, you're right. I do say it was a spectacular show, honey. I am so fortunate to have a daughter like you." The sound of clacking wood ceased, replaced by an impossibly specific one. It wasn't a coincidence that Alouette and Guillot pictured the same thing. Fabric against a child's cheek as she walked, clinging to the simple, breeze-tussled skirt of her mother's dress.
Okay. So she's a death witch, but not the death witch. Yeah, the first look at a witch fight, for real, for real. Wow, okay. So, very much, anime-esque TM. No, that was nice. That was very nice. Okay, so Alouette is confirmed, not her actual name, because it didn't work. Fake, you're a phony! The entire pre-duel fight combo the entire pre-fight convo is very funny. Enough witch dominion currency that can last two adults living an upper middle class lifestyle in the Pearl capital for 1 year, including groceries, rent, and utilities. Who do you think you are? This won't even be a deathmatch. 1 season. 3? 1.5! That's it! The poor Justice familiar. Bro had to deal with all of this. The poor bear. Oh, poor thing. Oh, I feel bad. I feel like Justice Witch is very overworked. I hope they're doing all right. Whoever you are currently, Miss MX, Justice 1000th. The bear. No, the bear is so fucking funny. God, Swan Gray. Yes, Miss Swan Gray did great, actually. Miss MX, Mister, I don't know, is a fabricated witch. Considering Glassware could be a mirrored version of her and Doll Witch. Ooh, they them. Monarch, I guess. Lands on Monarch, I suppose. No, rather than it mirroring Alouette and the Doll Witch, cause like, that would be weird then, wouldn't it? Because the Doll Witch clearly has romantic intentions, rather than any parental ones. So if Bro was supposed to read as parental, oh boy, that's concerning implications. But could Alouette be a familiar of the? But no, that wouldn't make sense, would it? There's also may you regain your identity. Perhaps your mother awaits your safe return as well. Huh. That also that wouldn't make sense, Greater L. Cause why would a familiar of the Doll Witch have different affinities in terms of witchcraft? Wouldn't she also be a Doll Witch of some kind instead of a Death Witch? Unless sorry, I was about to go unless the Doll Witch also has death stuff. But I'm like, no, hold on. He is the Doll Witch. He can't, unless Bro is like dual maining. I don't even know if that's possible. How would that, how would that don't make, huh? Huh? But yeah, so Alouette is definitely not her real name. So that's fine. So Alouette is a title of some kind, I guess. Or maybe it was somebody's name before, but clearly it's not her real name. Either way, it's not her real name. I wonder if it's like a surface name? These names had to be intimately connected to the individual. Well, I mean, Doll is treating her like she's his beloved. So I guess that can be... No, but it said these were nicknames that had to be conveyed in a roundabout fashion. It was impossible to say my name is so and so and so and so, like Alouette de Deguya. Never mind. Never mind. So what is... Not a human, but not quite a witch. Fascinating wording, mother. Also, let me look at synth again. Kusogaki energy. So I'm gonna assume this little doll up here, that's supposed to be Mother's vessel at the very least. What a description that she has for when she appeared. TM. Where is it? Where's the thing? Where did it say? No, it's not that one. Emerging from the nondescript proxy's figure was a shadow that stretched many times more than its size. Blotting out what scant light remained, the darkness melded into a noble woman with a luxurious feathered hat, streams of pearls, and ribbons decorating a voluptuous wire petticoat. A ruffled fan crossed her collar and rested against her shoulder. Very gorgeous lady. Very gorgeous lady. Gosh. Truly, the biggest mystery is what the hell Alouette is. The more we find out the rules of this world, the more I cannot for the life of me figure out who Alouette possibly could be. Like, okay, like, we know she's a death witch of some kind. But then, like, but who is she? Alouette's not even her name. Fucking CL Black Butler, William James Moriarty, Moriarty the Patriot, name situation going on. Who are you, girly pop? You got kidnapped by the doll witch, kidnapped, quote unquote. You got kidnapped by the doll witch, you don't have any memories, you got caught in the crossfire of the witch war, you got into an argument with the doll witch that probably left him in like tatters and ruins, and like he's now hiding out in his fucking basement. In his own basement! He is hiding out in his own basement in a cabinet that you can't open because you never tried opening it with your goddamn doll, with your non-doll hand. Alouette! Lock in! Girl! Stress, 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 stress. But okay, Guyo is his name is Guyo, right? Guyo is now part of the party, TM. I'm no Nightmare Queen, soon to be companions by chance. If she's the person she's shown me so far, I'll gladly say, okay. Yippee yahoo. Why does it feel like everyone knows what she is, but Cause even Mother is like, dearest Knight, are you confident you can stand by that girl no matter what she is? Why does it feel like everybody knows what she is, but nobody wants to say what she is? Cause even Doll was like, if you know the truth, you will die. And like it wasn't like a threat, it was a warning. Like, if she figures out what she is, she's gonna perish, I guess. What? How? She doesn't even know her name! She doesn't even know her freaking name! Crashes out, crashes out, crashes out, crashes out. What? Also, random thing to get caught up on. Like, I know that they just came out of a war and everything, but fascinating that 27 is considered a young age to die. I mean, it is, in theory, it is. Like, it is a young, but like, again, they came out of a war, so it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit strange that 27 is a young age to die in this world. Do I have any more questions that I'm thinking of? This part is very funny. She got that mom mind. That's true. That's fair. Her entire thing is Mother, so 27 do be young. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. This one is very funny. It was an essay about how she was too trusting in the first place. What if he was a bad person? He could have robbed or kidnapped her, or been an undead, or cursed, or both, and then she goes, I get it. I'd like to think I'm a good judge of character if fucking Euclid was not mentioned for convenience's sake. Misery of who Alouette was, because you're building... Our Alouette resembles the doll witch, not the other way around. True, she has no memory. She has 2 missing limbs and an eye. Created to resemble a dead person, perhaps? You're really stuck on your idea that our Alouette is a construct of some sort. It would be strange to make a wounded construct, though, isn't it? Like... Unless... No, because the body, the human part of the body had to be nourished and, like, brought back to, you know, working condition, right? Like, she woke up from a coma and everything. Is this like a friggin' what, like a ship of Theseus kind of situation? Like, enough parts have been replaced of like what part is the original? That sort of thing. Like how many parts need to be replaced until you can consider them a construct? I don't know. Theories. But there is something here. There is something here that is staring us dead in the eye, and I think we just don't have enough, context to know what it is. But I feel like once we figure it out, we're gonna look back at all these previous chapters and we're gonna go like, holy shit, it was right there. It feels like there's something here. I don't know what. That's the only issue. There's something here, and it's bothering me. Don't laugh at me, Dad! You... Yeah! Grabs the author through the screen, shakes you around. But... Gigi! But no, yeah, there is something here. Oh, it's bothering me. It's bothering me heavy. Intermission 1 is really short, 5 minutes. Oh, is it? Oh, it is 5 minutes! Oh my god, okay. We might as well jump to it then. Alright. Okay, let's go.
Intermission 1. I'm sorry for hurting you before. The white bear sniffed and tapped its nose against Alouette's clasped hands. Everything was all right. It grunted and beckoned them to follow. They were headed for the town of Callum. Alouette buckled against Guillot. If alone, she would have berated herself for not having the energy left to make the trip. But now, he was here. Guillot lifted Alouette into his arms and carried her the entire way as she dozed off. Summer's dawn was still several hours away. Worrying about the remaining spring night's chilliness, he laid his scarf over her stomach. She thanked him and held on. Why was she a death witch? Was her past self obsessed with it, or had another force granted her the affinity? The two mulled this over during the silent journey, but it was a clue with no leads. Guillot didn't judge her. He continued to carry her, vowing to protect the girl that he now recognized as precious. They walked for hours until the sun's faint light peeked past the horizon. Alouette fell in and out of a light slumber until she spotted warm street lamps and tiled rooftops in the distance. The bear led them to the heart of the town. Past the square stood a rustic 3-story building, somewhat like a house and quite like a museum. Raising its paw, the bear used the door's knocker like a civilized citizen, while maneuvering with the awkwardness of, well, a bear. It took a good minute and a few more bangs. A man with messy, sandy hair answered, yawning as he adjusted his monocle and loose robes. Ko Hu-Ren's clothes were considered an elegant spectacle on the mainland, but the sloppy, single-layered sleeping gown on him was somewhat less impressive. Number 110? What brings you here? He asked the bear before noticing the other two. Oh my, what happened? Are you okay? The girl couldn't hold back her emotions when she met his warm eyes. He didn't reek of death, and neither did this town. In a moment of vulnerability, she craned over to him as if clinging to life itself. Guillot had expected her to stop at that, but Alouette reached and fell from his gauntlets. Without uttering a cry, she slammed shoulder first into the cobbled pavement. Alarmed, Guillot and the man gathered her. The latter asked if she was in pain. What was she even trying to do? Alouette shook her head, clutching and weeping into his sleeve. You're a normal person. You're a normal person, she sobbed. What started as a few tears turned into bawling in the street. Everything hit her at once. Confusion, frustration, fear, relief, and gratitude. There weren't many things left in this world that could give this man pause. However, this girl's tears reflected a mirror of the past, of the little boy named Guillaume waiting on those altar steps, waiting in a cell of the commune's basement, waiting years for someone to save him until that fateful autumn day. It was his time to help others, and he would do it better than that grumpy cartography ever would, of course. Gentle hands on Alouette's shoulders pulled her away so she could see his reassuring smile.
He helped her back into Guillot's worried arms. I'm still a witch, miss. You ought to withhold judgment a bit longer. After smoothing the creases in his robes, he held open the door to the museum. Shimmering light and the clinking voices of curious antiques drifted through the air. I am Artifact. Please, make yourselves at home.
Wait! It's our boy! He's all grown up! He's all grown up! It's our boy! It's Artifact! It's Guillot! Yo! Yippee! It's our boy! It's our boy! Oh, what the frick? Aww! Oh, that's so cute. What? That's so unfairly adorable. What the frick? Okay. Aww. Little guy. El wee wee. Oh, but no, that was great. What fantastic 3.5 chapters. Oh, that was great. Hello, Lilith. More violence. Ah! No, oh. You're a normal person. Girl, don't speak too soon. Thank you for the care package. I will stretch pot check and hydrate. Thank you. Otsu! Wow, fantastic work, everybody. Is this HD's voice actor? It is, isn't it? It's him. Noah Belachu. Yeah. What the frick? Odd. No, yeah, that was nice. Ow. Alouette, girl, get up, please. I love that he's like, I'm still a witch. Don't speak too soon. I might be crazy. I love that. Good for him. Preemptive preparation. We love that. But no, yeah, that was great. That was very nice. I don't have a lot of questions. That's just like a half a chapter. I don't have a lot of questions. I guess my only question is where we're gonna go from here. Fascinating. Who is Alouette? Who is our girl? Who is she? Shakes her around. Yeah, thank you all for coming to book club. Smiles. We might not know what the doll witch really looks like because Mother emerged from her like a shadow from her construct. Yeah, that's why I was saying earlier that the doll witch that we saw, the head, torso, arm, that might not really be him. But I know what the doll witch looks like. I know what he looks like, but you know, just look at the freaking countdown. Just look at the countdown thingies for doll witch, like you'll know what he looks like. But it's also like, fascinating. You did? Yeah, that's what he looks like. That is him. That is the doll witch, TM. And the only reason I know is because I auditioned. That's it. That don't count. But no, yeah, like, what was I gonna say? No, yeah. So current questions, I guess. Main one: who is Alouette? Like her actual name, who she really is. Why are I know it's because like she's the main protagonist of the story, right? But also, why does she seem like such an anomaly? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Why does she seem so as why do a lot of things seem to happen around her? It is my thing. The doll witch is obsessed with her. She's got this like air of mystery. She's like a death witch. She's not a human, but not entirely a witch, according to Mother. What is going on? What is where? Follow up question. Where is the story going? Is my thing. Like I know that the Doll Witch is a story about Alouette and Guyo going on an adventure. What is the main conflict? I cannot wait to see. 'Cause who is Alouette? Who was Alouette? Why is the song Alouette about plucking various parts from a bird? That concerning implications, if we're gonna go by the song. You ask yourself that too? That's crazy! No! Button! I thought the story was done! Button! No, it's just like... Because I know that we're just in the intro parts, right? So we don't really know what's going on and everything, right? It's just... It's done, but you can't describe it. Oh, back of my head. No, it's just... How do I word what I'm trying to ask? I don't... Thinking. What is it I'm trying to say? Like... Truly, it is just the adventures of fucking not Doll Witch and Suit of Armor Kun. But yeah, no, I can't wait to see where the story goes from here. Cause it's clearly all tying together. I just have to wait for it to tie together. Like I know I have to wait. It's just also like I'm like, what's gonna happen? No, yeah, anyway. No, I'm chill. I'm so relaxed. I'm so normal. My cortisol levels are at a normal percentage. Oh. No, yeah. Truly fascinating. Truly fascinating stuff going on right now. But yeah. Is that all? Is that all I got? I think that's all I got. I don't have very many questions other than the main ones, I guess. I'm like, where is the story gonna go from here? Think thonks. Oh boy. Alright! Can't wait for the next update. Smiles cutely. Baton, good luck at Anime NYC. I believe you're participating. Yeah, and thank you all so much for coming to book club. Let's reconvene. Let's reconvene next update. Yay! But no, yeah. Let's go over here. I can hear the roosters. Oh boy. Where am I? Where did I go? There I am. Yippee, yahoo. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming to the stream. I greatly appreciate y'all being here. This is great. I'm not gonna rate anybody because I'm tired. But yeah, bye-bye everybody. Thank y'all for going to stream. Please remember to stay safe, stay healthy. Please, damn, I can talk, I swear. Please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, most importantly, stay evil for me, okay? Okay, bye-bye!